It's time for the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Each week, Trading Stocks Made Easy demystifies stock trading and investing so you can profit big. And now, here's the host of Trading Stocks Made Easy, the wealthy investor, Tyrone Jackson.
Well, hello there. It's Tyrone Jackson, and it's time for episode 213 of Trading Stocks Made Easy. Glad you are back with me. Okay. You know how sometimes on this show I talk to you about specific stocks, or sometimes I'll explain what actually goes on in a stock transaction, the difference between the bid-ask spread and covered call writing? Well, that's all fine and dandy, but we're going to switch gears here, and today I'm going to play the role of your wealth coach. So very often people say to me, well, what is it you actually do? And I say, well, I'm actually a wealth coach. People go, well, what does that mean? Well, not only do I teach people how to trade and invest for the long term to create financial freedom, but sometimes I talk to them and have a discussion with them about money and money habits. And that's the coaching part of what I do. No matter what I'm doing, if I'm walking you through a trade at WI Trade School, or if I am helping you gather your thoughts and focus so you can have the life that you want, I love what I do. So today's episode is really about your thoughts, your plans, your future, your discipline, and your patience. So, can you believe that you actually have a wealth coach right here at Trading Stocks Made Easy? Well, that's what you have when you tune into this show. Okay, so the reason I want to coach you today about patience and discipline is because I have, being a public person, the opportunity to meet a great many people. And since you know that I spend a portion of my time in California, guess who I'm meeting more often than not? Those Hollywood types, right? And if I'm meeting movie stars and TV stars and producers on a regular basis, I notice that success leaves clues. So the people in the entertainment business, for example, who are financially successful, usually have patience and discipline. Even if they give their money to someone else initially to watch over it, they're expecting a return and they're willing to be patient and they expect great things to happen for them financially. Now, where does that come from? Well, when you have a mindset for wealth and financial success, you learn to expect good things are coming your way. So, for example, let's talk about you and I here for a moment. When I first got started as the wealthy investor, I guess we're getting close to 27 years ago, I remember my first brokerage account was opened with $500. I had $500 and I was so happy to fill out that paperwork and give that company a check. And they gave me back a username and password and I had access to Wall Street. Boy, was that exciting. Now, why was that so exciting? Because no one in my family, and I mean no one, had ever had access to Wall Street before. And it wasn't about the $500 deposit. I was excited because I had the habit. I knew if I could put in $500 a month or $500 a week, that it was going to add up to something substantial so long as I was choosing good stocks. And as you know by now, in the Wealthy Investor Program, we call them good dates, right? So I was willing to choose good dates, not no-name companies. So I knew even though I'd make some mistakes, I now had a positive habit. I had a place to deposit money where it had the chance to wildly grow in value. And that's what was so exciting. Today, I live the fruits of that $500 deposit. It's hard to believe it all started with just $500, but it really did. Now, the benefit of having me in your life is that you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did in those early years because I've learned from them. Right? But the question here that I wanted to ask you is about your wealth consciousness. When it comes to money and residual income, do you expect good things to happen or do you expect bad things to happen? Or do you have no expectations at all about your financial life? You're just going day to day to day to day to day. Well, here's what I have learned. people who are self-made millionaires. And by the way, I want to talk to you about being a millionaire. Why? Because there's nothing all that exciting about being a thousandaire, right? That can come and go on a daily basis. But for most people, $1 million is still a pretty good deal. Well, you see the same patterns over and over. At least I see the same patterns over and over. Why? Because wealth is nothing but a series of positive habits. And wealthy people expect something good to happen to them all the time. I'm not saying that they're perfect, but when it comes to their money growing, they expect to put it somewhere and see some kind of rate of return that is substantial. Now, where do they learn that habit from? Well, one of the things that I've seen is all wealth is taught, right? So if you want to raise a family that is successful financially, you have to be the leader and start a series of positive habits. And one of the things that's coming up for me in my coaching work, as well as my trading, is a little something called momentum. And I just feel compelled to share this with you right now. So you remember when I was just talking a few moments ago about that $500? The $500 is more symbolic, right? It's not really investing $500 in and of itself doesn't suddenly make you a multimillionaire. It's symbolic because it's the habit, right? It's telling your brain, your heart, your mind, your soul, things will be better at some future date that I can't see right now, but I know I'm planting those seeds. And what I've discovered is living around very, very wealthy people, they're constantly planting seeds. And if they didn't, then their grandparents or their parents did, and they've picked up the habit. So what am I asking you to think about here today? I'm asking you to think about catching a positive financial habit. So what do you do in your life on a monthly or weekly basis that adds to your life being better financially a year, 2 years, 3 years from now? What are you doing right now, not necessarily with a lot of money, that leaves you with the idea and the confidence that you will be better off a year, 2, or 3? Now, for some people, that's watching the equity rise in their home. Right? Every time you make a house payment, you're basically paying down the loan that you have on the house while your house typically is still appreciating in value. So as someone who owns several houses, I love to watch my mortgage balances decline. And I do so every single month, right? Not that I'm sitting there all day on a Monday going, okay, this figure leads to this figure, this leads to this figure. But with some degree of intention, I'm paying attention to those balances. Now, maybe, just maybe, one of your positive habits is overpaying your mortgage. So let's say your mortgage is $2,000 a month, just to pick a number. Do you realize that if you made a mortgage payment for $2,100 a month, that extra $100 would immediately go towards principal? Now, if you know anything about home mortgages, you know when you make a payment, there are taxes, right, for your local municipality. There's interest, and then there's principal. When you make an extra principal payment every single month, it grows the amount of equity that you have in the home, and it reduces your interest rate on the subsequent payment. I like to refer to that as disrupting the amortization of the loan. So listen to this, because this is such a funny thing when it comes to wealth, and I want to share this with you. If $100 is the number that you would not feel at all for the rest of the month, it makes no difference to you, then that's the amount of the overpayment, right? So if you can make an extra $50 a month on your monthly mortgage payment, and you know that's upsetting the amortization schedule, upsetting in a good way, so that next month you pay less interest and you build more equity faster, wouldn't you do that? Okay, so there has to be a number that allows you to overpay your mortgage so you don't wind up paying the bank all of that interest. Now, this is interesting also because when we're talking about catching a healthy habit, it works the same thing on your car payment, right? So I have multiple cars, and I look at those statements every single month. And I go, why are they going down so fast? And the answer is because I never pay the minimum. Even if I just send in an extra $50, $100 per month, What's happening? I'm getting that car paid off sooner. Well, some people would say, well, if you're really, truly wealthy, then why not just pay for the car cash? The answer for that is I like using other people's money. Why should I give up all of my cash on a brand new car when I can put that cash in the stock market, derive dividend income and covered call income, and let the stock market pay my bills? Now, isn't that fascinating? Let's talk about that for a second. When I talk to you about your consciousness, I'm hoping that you're listening to this show with an open mind, because these concepts are very simple to implement and very easy to understand over time. On your car payment, it's made up of interest and principal. If you can send an extra $50 a month to your car payment, you're going to be done with that loan sooner. Well, some people say, well, Tyrone, you're asking me to add an extra $100 a month to my house payment and now another $50 a month to my car payment? Yes. Because if you can do those two things, guess what? You're going to be rich sooner because you get done with all of your loans faster. We're talking about money here that you don't need. So an extra $150 a month, does that make a big difference to your life right now? If it does, then you probably need more income, because $150 a month really, if you're striving for wealth, really shouldn't be that much to come up with. Okay? So I want you to think about some excess figure in your life, because that excess figure on a monthly or weekly basis, that's your wealth. Now let's take a look at it from the other side of the ledger. What amount of money can you afford to put in your TD Ameritrade account every single month, and it would make no difference to your lifestyle at all? There's got to be a number. We all have a number. Maybe it's $25 a month. For some people, that number is $200. I would never miss $200 a month, right? For some people, it's $750. Listen to this. For some people, it's $750 every 3 months. There's some way in your life to stack the money, the wealth building in your favor with some funds that you don't need. Now, I have a friend who I've known since college. His wife happens to be an accountant, but she's really risen in the ranks to a very big corporation where she's really the CFO. He gets a bonus of about $250,000 a year. She gets a bonus of about $300,000 a year. Can you guess what they've done? This is why they have $1 million cash, by the way, because over the last 4 years, they've pretended as if that bonus check never came in and they just swept it aside. So they may pay off a car and then put that bonus check somewhere to the side, because those bonus checks for them are the numbers that they really don't need to survive and live. So they have right now, as of today, $1.2 million in cash. I've tried, because I'm the wealthy investor, to say, do you guys know how well you'd be doing if you just owned Apple stock? But the wife says, no. We don't want any of that stock market stuff around here. We just want to stay in cash. Well, they've been able to build that $1.2 million over 4 years. What's going to happen over the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years, right? Obviously, they're going to retire very, very wealthy. Why? Because they also make a little extra payment on their mortgage every single month. They have what's known as discipline. So we can all say, I want to be rich. I get if I hold stocks, I'll do really, really well. But the next question is, do you have patience and discipline? And more on patience and discipline right after this.
Want to increase your stock market trading profits? Then you need to start your monthly membership to WITradeschool.com right now. Don't understand how to write covered calls for monthly income? No problem. Simply review Tyrone's latest stock trades in our video library as many times as you need. WITradeschool.com is all about helping you get the financial education you need to earn money in the stock market and change your financial life. Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor, has helped his students earn thousands of dollars per month trading stocks online from home. These are people just like you. So what are you waiting for? Follow Tyrone Jackson's Red Hot Stock Trades and Investment Strategies today. Don't wait. Start your monthly membership at WITradeschool.com right now.
Hey, it's Tyrone Jackson, Wealthy Investor again, and I just wanted to remind you that if you enjoy listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast, be sure to share it with your friends all across social media, including Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you enjoy hearing about success principles that inspire you, as well as interviews with some of my most successful students, I want to remind you it's right here at the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast, wherever you get your podcast. And make sure you download as much free material as you want at thewealthyinvestor.net. I'll see you there. Catch a healthy, positive financial habit, and that's what this episode is all about. All right, so in the first part of the show, as I am coaching you in today's episode, I hope this feels good, and maybe you're thinking a little bit different. The whole purpose of this podcast and the Wealthy Investor Program is so that you have wealth and financial freedom, right? But where do you start? You start with your habits. Overpaying your mortgage payments, overpaying a car payment, just a little bit over, and then taking some money on a consistent and regular basis and moving it into your TD Ameritrade trading account. Why? Because if you can buy $500 a month of stocks that pay dividends, and you can do that for at least 2 years, you're going to have wealth. What is the definition of wealth that I like to use? Just having more than what you need to get by every day. So if you have $22,000 in a brokerage account or a retirement account, you actually have wealth. If you add that to the value of your home or your retirement account, guess what? You're doing really well. How do you become a self-made millionaire? In teeny tiny steps. It really does add up over time. So the idea of paying attention to what you're paying out and adding a little bit extra takes discipline. It takes 5, 10, 15 minutes a month to pay attention to what you're paying, right? Now, if you want to get rich and you're putting money away every single month, that takes discipline and patience. See, $500 a month is not a big deal unless you're buying more Apple stock every single month. And within 10 to 12 months, you have between $5,000 and $10,000 worth of stock. Why between $5,000 and $10,000? Because if you look at the history of Apple stock, by the way, the stock doubles every 5 years. It won't always be that way, but that is what's going on right now. And we know they're a leader in AI. Or they will simply buy a company that is a leader in AI, and Apple is an adapter, so therefore they're going to be at the top of the heap for a while, not to mention the fact that they're in the Dow Jones Industrial Average as well as the S&P 500. So we're in an era right now, which nobody really tells you except for me, which is you're in an era where you really can be wealthy. You really can. Why? Because we have all these great companies surrounding us inventing this new technology. So all we have to do is to be smart and willing shareholders. Now, when I tell people they can be rich because of this era, they want to be rich by next Tuesday. It's not going to happen by next Tuesday, by the way, just so you know, unless you're starting with hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if you are patient and you put a timetable and you say, I'm going to put this money in this brokerage account and I'm going to see what happens over 24 months, that's 2 years, you'll notice a huge difference. And in 2 years, you may be able to generate enough covered call income so that at least the stock market is paying for a first-class vacation that you like. That means your investments are paying off. And by the way, when it comes to patience, I see this a lot with my students. They're already in the millions, but then they never want to spend anything. Terrible. That is a terrible habit. You have to want to spend some of the money that you're earning trading stocks, because if you don't, you wind up giving it more to the government. Or if you don't want to spend money, otherwise known as being cheap, it sends the message to your brain and to your being that you don't have enough. And if I meet yet another person with $1 million in a brokerage account, and they're like, no, I never touch it. I never want to touch it. It's for someday. Now you're getting back into poverty consciousness, even though you had more than most people. Wealth is to be enjoyed. You are to be rewarded by that. but you must choose your rewards on a regular and consistent basis. So, for example, we're about to have our big event in Maui. And a lot of people say, I can afford to go, but we had a pullback in the stock market. I'm not going this year to Maui. Yeah, but what if I teach you accelerated strategies that help your wealth grow and you give yourself a 5-star vacation at the same time? No, Tyrone. No. I'd rather all keep it in the brokerage account. And that's why you see some people walking around and they have total financial freedom, but they live like they have nothing. Because fear is a very interesting thing. And for some people, the more assets you have, the more fear they experience because they don't want to lose what they've built up over time. And I say, no, if you were enjoying your assets more, your fear would decline because you'd be imbalanced. Now, if all of the money that you earn in this lifetime is connected to your belief systems, if your belief system starts to shrink and you start to experience fear, then that means obviously you're not going to expand. And that's why most people need coaching. They need to be in the presence of someone who says, hey, by doing this trade, by using this saving methodology, are you shrinking or expanding? In this lifetime, you deserve to expand and have all the wealth around you that the universe provides. And we just use the stock market to manifest, to actually do that. Do you understand? Okay. So in the actions that you're going to take over the next 48 hours, are they actions that feed your expansion or cause you to contract and feel fear? Because if you're feeling fear about the financial actions that you're going to take, obviously you're not expanding. So the question you want to ask yourself is, why am I afraid, or what am I afraid of? Now, the number one fear that most people have when they become a self-directed investor or trader is that you are somehow going to lose it all, right? That somehow you put your money in the stock market, it's just all going to be gone. Right. So why don't we just eliminate that fear and you say, I'll only trade within the Dow Jones Industrial Average or the S&P 500. These companies are already proven themselves or else they wouldn't be in the index. Right? So we can dial down the fear and feed the expansion. Now, the most important reason that you want to catch a healthy financial habit, be patient and disciplined at the same time, is for the next generation. Everything you do right now, believe it or not, you are an example to someone whether you think about it or not. So if you show up to work late, someone is affected by those actions. If you show up early, someone is affected by those actions. So you are an example. You are a shining star. How seriously do you take that example? Do you think about how your behavior affects other people, both in the positive and the negative? So you have choices that you can make right now today, like doing something nice for someone at work, right? That's a positive action. It also can feed your expansion. So, for example, and this person is not in the studio right now, but there's an employee here at the studio that on Thursdays, he always brings in donuts for everybody. And it's like a breakfast thing. No one says, hey, you have to do that. But isn't that a positive thing to put into the atmosphere for the people that you're working with? The answer is yes. Is that an action that feeds your expansiveness when it comes to finances? Yes, because you can afford to get a box of donuts once a week and treat your colleagues to a box of donuts. That kicks off momentum because now that you've done something positive and you want that positivity to continue, guess what? Now you can take a positive financial action and know that everything is all right. So I'm hoping that our time together enlightens you, inspires you, and gets you to think about what kind of financial life you'd like to have and where you'd like to be. And once you begin thinking about that, now you can take financial actions that for sure will get you to the life that you want if your desire is more wealth and more residual income. Think about it. Hey, I'm Tyrone Jackson, the Wealthy Investor, saying thank you for spending this time with me. I can't wait to someday meet you live and in person at one of my seminars or events or Maui or somewhere so that we can both benefit from the positive energy and outlook that we both share. Have a great week. Think about some of these principles in your life, put them into action so that you can be the positive force that the world and the people around you need. I'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Be sure to rate and review our show on iTunes. While you're on iTunes, be sure to click the subscribe button and you'll automatically receive our next episode.